of experience is gained over time. Sharing that knowledge is vital to help improve upon what is already there and to educate others following in their footsteps. Mistakes may be made along the way, but hopefully shared so as to help others not falter in the same way. Join the voices of adults and children in the foster care and adoption world as they impart their own pieces of wisdom.
For parents who are considering adopting or foster care that have a sense of, I don't know if I could do this, I don't know if I could handle it, those are the parents that I think are the most open to handling it. Because they're asking, they're at least aware that there might be something unexpected that they're not prepared to handle. And these are the parents that I think we owe the truth to about what it takes on our part to meet these unexpected needs on the part of children. I do believe that the system in and of itself falls short. The macro system falls short in preparing, training, supporting parents who are really struggling with kids who've experienced trauma.
Well, in regards to preparation for foster parents, I think they get a pretty comprehensive training. With the cases that I've dealt with, the only thing I would probably suggest they change a little is the time to call for support. They need to try to handle it if they can, just like it was their child, if a problem arises. But when it's beyond what they're comfortable with, they need to call somebody right then. And I think our Appalachian heritage is try to be as self-contained and as appropriate as you can and not bother the professionals. But in this case, the professional is there for a reason. So I think foster parents have to be pretty quick on the call button when there's a problem they don't feel comfortable handling.
I was approached, I guess, about 3 years into our foster parenting if I would be involved in MAP training. And MAP training is the model approach to parenting partnership. And that's where I teach 6 to 12 weeks of classes that we work with the parents, the incoming parents, for them to decide if this is the right fit for them, and for DSS to see if that's the right fit for them. DSS wanted the foster parent and adoptive parents' point of view, which was very good because, you know, that gives the incoming foster parents and adoptive parents, gives them time to question, you know, well, so this is what the book says, but what really happens in real life?
I think it gives they may have questions they're afraid to necessarily ask the social workers, but, you know, asking a fellow foster parent, they're more open to ask those kind of questions.
I think the best advice for people becoming foster parents is to have a degree of openness and ability to learn, and then an understanding that foster parenting is purposeful parenting. Many times we rear our own children with what seems like an innate sense of how we are to do things. And foster parenting is always purposeful, the things that we have to learn. And so I think being willing to learn is very important. Sharing and networking is an important thing for foster parents. They can't do it alone. They always need some help from relatives and friends and persons in the community. Sometimes foster parenting can be disruptive to a family relationship, even a marital relationship, just because you've introduced something new into the setting. So foster parenting can be an opportunity to grow and learn and change. Respite care or some relief or some rest for the parent is always very important.
I believe that even foster and adoptive parents, like everyone else, need to take responsibility for themselves. And so as a family, we hired our own therapist. We had a private therapist who came in and worked with us and helped me learn and helped me navigate, taught me about the needs of these children that I didn't understand at the time. I didn't really understand the impact of trauma, and I certainly did not understand what it was going to elicit in me, my own anger and frustration and triggers to that trauma.
Advice that I would probably relay to prospective foster parents is probably a rephrasing of the non-judgmental positive regard. You're going to have kids who are broken, have no concept at all of what normal is. So you may have a child who sits on your lap and tries to kiss you. Full face, tongue involvement. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's a possibility. They think that's normal because maybe their parents or family members did that to them. You cannot panic. You just have to give them a little distance and say, that's really not an appropriate kiss for a mom and a child. This is an appropriate kiss, and turn their face, kiss their cheek, give them a little hug, say that's appropriate. The other is reserved for special people in your life when you're older. And a lot of things like that will happen. You just have to be open to the possibility that you'll be traumatized by their experience, but yet you're the adult, you're the guiding light. You have to not panic and get angry. You have to just correct them and say, you know, that's really not okay to do right now. And be clear and be willing to talk about the problems. If you're not open to communicating to them about what's wrong about that, they're never going to learn. So again, you're the guiding light. Just be willing to be very open and forthcoming with them about why it's not safe or it shouldn't be done.
People ask me, because of the research I've done, what would you tell someone who's thinking about fostering? There's actually a list in the back of Fall or Fly that's put together by foster parents who didn't want to talk to me about it, but they agreed to put the list together and give it to me. And probably the number one thing is go take some classes before you even think about doing this. They're free. Go and find your local therapeutic or DSS class and take it. Then, if you're going to foster, start doing weekend or emergency care only and see how that goes. If you're going to take in longer-term foster kids, foster below the age of the youngest bio child in your house. It just is a practical matter. You tend to be smaller physically. You can't beat up or be beaten up. It helps a lot with children who have seen abnormal displays of affection. Foster below the age of your youngest bio child. Then have a support system. If you want to do this and your spouse doesn't, don't do it. It's not going to work. And if you want to do it and your church thinks that you're a saint and your family thinks that you're insane, you're going to crack open. Get your support system together before you start. This is a lot like being pregnant without the appreciation and understanding of the community. You're going to want your support system in place before you start. And I think the other thing is, remember that you can't smash something that's already broken. I think people are terrified to enter foster care because they're afraid they're going to do something stupid. You really can't do anything more stupid than what these kids have seen. Take them to McDonald's. Take them trick-or-treating. Get them a Christmas present. Ask them what they want for breakfast. The most important thing to being a foster parent is to show up. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be there. And I think that's something that a lot of prospective foster parents don't know. Relax. It's going to be okay.
I think, and what I used to tell the families I worked with is, it takes a lot of perseverance. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of support. You can't do this alone. The place that I'm currently working, we talk a lot about being a part of a village, and I think you have to really have that village to be successful, whether that be your social worker, your child's therapist, the teachers, but you have to really support each other and to support that child. And I also think you have to have a sense of humor, that if you can't step back a little bit and just enjoy the little moments, but also just laugh, that it's really hard, because it can be really heavy and dark at times. And You know, some people certainly have a faith-based support, but I think that helps to feel like you're really contributing to a higher cause and to feel passionate that this is really our role, is that we should be loving and caring for these children, that it's our society's obligation to do that, and we need to learn how to do it better.
Even though the system should provide what we need, it doesn't always. And so I believe it's my responsibility to go out and get the help that I need to make it work, and to make it work effectively for children in my care. For every human being on this planet, we could all take more responsibility for ourselves than we do. We want to put it on someone else, the system, the group, the club, if only they had, if only they did. This system cannot possibly meet the need of every foster and adoptive parent. It just can't happen. We also have to take responsibility ourselves.
Advice for prospective foster parents, people looking to adopt: you can do all the classes, which you have to do, but it's not going to be anything near what the classes say. It's every kid's different. Just be prepared for anything and be able to handle it. And if you can't have good coping skills or outlets to do whatever you need to do, but it's not going to always be like the classes say they're going to be.
My advice to you prospective foster or adoptive parents: same as raising a kid that you could have. You don't know what to expect. Don't have expectations that the kid's going to be horrible. Don't have expectations that they're going to be perfect. One of the biggest things I've seen is people having this expectation that a foster kid need to be fixed or they need to be babied. They just need you to be there. They need you to be consistent, and they need to know that you're there. Also, make sure to remember that their behavior is not about you. Their behavior is about something in their brain and their survival mode. So when a kid reacts to something and you think, oh, that's not normal, for them it is. And so rather than asking the question, why are they doing this, ask what happened to them to make them, or what has happened to them that they're reacting this way.
I try to teach foster parents to accept small successes, to be very happy and overjoyed with small steps, rather than expecting huge and dramatic changes in behavior or emotion. And learning to celebrate and enjoy those moments is one of the things that a good foster parent learns to do.
The whole non-judgmental, positive regard is probably the way to continue thinking about this journey you're on with this foster child. They may or may not have any concept of God, religion, appropriate behavior. They may have none of these things that you were given in a healthy environment because they were never in a healthy environment. You have to be open to teaching them about that, be their guiding light, to help them know how to navigate their world because they've never been exposed to healthy and normal.
I think fostering is probably the best way to get involved in adoption. And I think that in people's minds, those two things are often not connected. But we have had in our programs more and more families who have been foster to adopt families. They got everything prepared and ready through the foster care system and then moved along into permanency or adoption. We always recommend adoption through the public system or through the Department of Social Services system because it is low cost or no cost, and there is a lot of support for families who are willing to step up and provide extra care and extra support.
My advice to anybody who's deciding to foster a child or more than one child, you're gonna have to work pretty hard with every child. any foster child is going to have a lot more explosive reactions than other kids, especially teenagers. It's gonna be worse than having just a regular teenager that you, like if you have already had a teenager go through your house, it's gonna be worse than that.
I think when foster parents, or well, I guess parents in general who are considering fostering or adopting, one of the things that I hear most frequently is, oh, I want a little baby. I want them to be mine. And I think what people don't really realize is that older children who are in the system, who are not little, they have a pretty good idea of what good and bad is. They know when you talk with them, you interact with them, they know if you're okay or not. And a child who's older, who's been in a bad setting, can really be appreciative of a good setting and an opportunity to be a good child. I know a lot of times I've heard potential adopters say, oh, they're damaged goods. Well, they may have been handled roughly, but damage is, very subjective. And I think a child who's older could be an amazing addition to a family. And babies are in fact that, babies, and they're open to any parental mistakes or parenting mistakes that you may commit. So you have an opportunity to raise this little infant up, but yeah, you can impress upon them all the negative things that were impressed upon you without thinking about it. So there's a lot of value in a child who may be 3 or 4.
I think people do need to take the teenagers, because right now there's a lot of people just looking to get foster babies, because who doesn't want to foster a cute baby or something? Well, you got to think about it. These people, if you don't foster these people, they're just going to keep moving around from different foster families. And all those stories of kids that move through foster families, we all know that's not a great thing to do.
I think I would tell them that very soon after this child enters their lives, even probably for a week or two, that they will love them. I would tell them that probably from the outset they think that a foster kid will never be like that biological child, and I would argue with them and say that's probably not true. And the longer that they are in your life, to be prepared in some ways for the separations that may or may not occur. They may come and take them away from you 6 months later, and it could be the most painful thing that you've ever gone through in your life. I probably wouldn't tell them that, but I would just talk about the love that occurs and the fact that sometimes people will say to Laurel and me that they will go, look at all that you've given and financially and otherwise there, and sacrifices in your life. And I've said this for a long time, that that having a kid in your life, you get more back from that relationship with those kids in your life than you give as part of it. And I would tell them it's a good thing to do, really.
The biggest advice that I can give an upcoming foster parent is to let the child be themselves. Never push anything too strongly, whether it's education, sports, religion. Present all of the resources and opportunities to the child, and let the child take those resources on their own terms and when they're ready and when they feel most comfortable too. Because that ultimately makes for a successful relationship between the foster child and foster parent.
I think we probably had some reservations about it a little bit at first.
We had some reservations about adoption.
Through foster care.
Through foster care. And again, it's sad because foster care is a label that is put on these kids, and you don't know what you're getting. You don't know.
I think the term foster care, for people that are not familiar with the foster care system, they assume the parents are in it for the money. You hear that conversation a lot. You also hear that they're bad kids or the kids have done something. And that's the thing that I think people that are wanting to look at foster or foster adopt is that the kids really, it's the parents. The biological parents had some kind of issue where they could not take care of the kids. And these kids are just really what they're after. Almost all of them that we've involved, even the ones that we didn't adopt, they're just looking for somebody to love them. Some stability, somebody to love them, and somebody, actually, funny enough as this sounds, actually set rules or set limitations, because in some situations with neglect, they've never had anybody set any rules on them. They're just been able to do what they want. And so that's almost a form of showing you don't care when you don't set it. So when you actually set limits or set rules, it's showing that you care about them. And it's funny enough how they actually need that. They actually, and they
crave it.
They crave it, and they kind of thrive on it. And so for anybody that's wanting to do it, it's really rewarding. Even for some of them that we didn't adopt, you do get the opportunity to hopefully change their life. And the ones that you do adopt, you really get the opportunity to change their life, and you get to watch them flourish and just see see them.
And it's not to say that it's not scary, but what's not scary in life, you've got to take risks, and you never know what you get if you're going to have a biological child. So you just have to open your heart and open your mind, and it'll work out in the end. It's going to be tough. It's not to say there's not going to be any tough spots, but you get through it, and you work with each other, and you form this partnership, and you can get through it.
The biggest advice I could offer foster parents that are gaining elder children, like how old I was, that could possibly have more emotional baggage than a baby, is to just acknowledge that they're there to help, and that they're not there to judge. They're not there to change that baggage. They're there to support you. If the child wants to lay all the baggage out on the table and let them rummage through it, do it, but wait for the child to come to them. Don't try to metal detector the luggage to dive in. Just let it unzip naturally and let everything work its course, because that's the best way that they will connect with that child of any age.
I would like foster parents to know that foster kids are always trying their hardest.
I say do it. If you feel that call, you should pursue it. It's a wonderful thing. I know some people have struggles, and not all adoptions are the dream story. It can be difficult. Attachment disorders and bonding issues, and different. Like I said, every story is different. Foster kids have a different story than international adoptions, than domestic. So you just have to cherish each story. They're all so different.
My advice for prospective adoptive parents is to go for it, because it's a great, great experience, and I wouldn't trade my adoptive family for anything, because I love them and they love me, and I think it's a perfect way to expand your family and spread the love around.
The connection between you and your child, if you want to adopt, will be just as strong as if you had given birth to them. They will love you just as much. There will always be a connection there. There's nothing, I don't think that they would regret it at all. That hasn't been my experience. It would be just as strong of a connection, and there will be so much love between you and your child or children. It won't matter that they're adopted, and that they will love you. I love my parents so much, and you're really their world, you know, because I think that a lot of adoptees struggle a little bit with abandonment, but you are their rock, and I hope that you realize that.
My practical advice to prospective adoptive parents would be to arrange their lives in a way that they have plenty of emotional and physical space to be with another human being in a very real and present way. Don't worry about the money, the things, the right life, doing it the right way. Just be present and to take it very, very slowly. Be open to whatever comes because there will be surprises. Let go of who you think this amazing person will become because you have no idea. Just really let that go and allow. Because when I've tried to put cultural pieces on her or expectations that were my own, wow, did that blow up. So that receiving and allowing are the two best words I come up with. Receive this amazing human being into your life and allow this person to be how they are in each moment.
My advice for teenagers in my same situation is to love yourself and never let yourself fall below your expectations, because you are the author of your own story, and you get to decide what you want to do and who you want to be. And I say just go for it.
I would love to see other adoptees from really anywhere be more vocal about their experiences, or just make more of a scene, whether it be in your town, your city, online. I would love to see a bigger online presence. Just maybe media, anything for people like us and like me who don't maybe live in the most diverse town. And I would love to see, particularly towards the Asian adoptees, us being more outspoken and more, I hope that we have more of a presence in the future, because I think that even Asian Americans, we could be louder. We could be stronger and more rooted in our beliefs, and more confident in our culture, and more opinionated in how people deal with us and how people see us.
You're lucky to have another family that's there to care for you. It's not like don't think that they're way better than your parents, like your biological parents. Because, I mean, biological parents are the ones that gave you life, but you also need to think that these people are here to help you now.
The biggest thing or piece of advice that I can offer any child in foster care at all is to let the parents give them a chance to let them give you a chance. Because if you give them the chance to show you that they want you safe, that they're doing this out of true love, and that they want the best for you, and they want you to have a good, positive life, if they can do that, then life is going to be amazing for them, that they're going to get anything they want if they just work for it.
The only advice that I would have for other adopted kids and kind of like a transracial family with white parents and being something else, just kind of look past that. That's what I did. You know, I mean, regardless of knowing I don't look anything like either of you, you know, I mean, I look past that and I learned to love them as my parents and who they were. And, you know, just, I think that's helped me a lot with other personal relationships outside of that, is to look at someone for who they are, what their personality is, you know, just what kind of person they are in general. So just try not to think about the difference in your skin, because that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about whether they love you and they chose you. That's the most important part. They chose you.
There are many ups and downs and in-betweens when it comes to healing from complex trauma stemming from foster care and adoption. Many have walked that path and know it is a lifelong journey. The advice from those who live in that space, from all corners of the foster care and adoption world, is there to help others navigate this windy and mountainous road.